Convening the meeting of August 2nd, 2016. Roll call, please.
She's coming.
Okay.
Maggie Evans. Dennis Wilson.
Present.
Dan Maskin.
Present.
Yes, to everybody. To everybody.
Veronica.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, not the staff. Not her. Sorry.
David Hahn Baker. Michael Martin. Patricia Cruz. Tina Zerbian.
I'm here.
Jeff Lewis.
Here.
Miguel Santos.
Present.
Mike Fobbit.
You know, we can't see New York. Is that, we don't see New York City. Oh, there they go. Okay.
Maurice Reed.
I'm here.
Renita Holly Atkinson. Eve Vilas. Carlton Mitchell. Belinda Groneman.
We don't have quorum. Yet.
Yeah. Okay. But there's always hope.
Up to it.
There's always hope 5 more people will walk through the door.
Yes, maybe 6.
All right, we'll move on, and we will move on past things that require formal approval, and we are going to hear now from the Office of the Prevention of Domestic Violence. Shine the light.
Hi, everybody. My name is Suzanne Sakala. I'm the Director of the Bureau of Public Awareness and Prevention for the Office for the Prevention of Domestic Violence here heretofore called OPDV. And I'm going to introduce my staff person, Heather Haskins, who will tell you about our campaign, and with the hopes that we can encourage community action agencies across the state to be even more involved in the Shine the Light campaign this year. I know they're doing a very good job, but this is a way of kind of coordinating everybody across the state. So with that, here's Heather.
If I might say, a copy of the presentation materials are in your folders for those of us who can't see the PowerPoint.
Yes, there are slides in the back of your folders. So now the pressure is, now since we all had to wait, this has to be really good. So I'll do my best. But as Suzanne said, we're gearing up. We'd like to get started as early as possible. So we're already thinking about October, even though it's August. And so just a little bit about our agency, which is actually right across the road from here. We're in the Alfred E. Smith building. This is our mission and vision, and I'm going to kind of talk as I go through the slides because I want to be, keep my awareness on the time. But basically, we work on improving the state's response to the prevention of domestic violence. We are a training agency. We do policy work, and our goal and our vision is to create a safer New York State and a safer, world really. But starting with New York State. We advise the governor on legislative policies and practices, and we are primarily a training agency. Our agency is really very trainer heavy. Our groups go out onto the road a lot. They work with child protective, probation, police, parole, mental health workers, and basically what they do is talk to professionals about the intersection of their particular discipline with domestic violence. And how to work with clients and consumers throughout the state. So one of the things that we have the opportunity to do as a state agency is work with communities and really bringing about awareness. And that's where agencies like yours come in with this campaign, which is started in 2008. We're going into our 9th year. And the goal is to really raise awareness in a big visual way in communities, whatever that means. And we like to keep it low cost to no cost because we feel like that will increase participation and really get people thinking about creative ways to go purple. Purple is the color of domestic violence awareness, in case anyone's not familiar with that. And what we also know is that when businesses and agencies participate beyond just the individual, it really sends a message to the community as a whole that, you know, we're aware of domestic violence, we don't tolerate it, we're supporting awareness and prevention. So how does one shine the light? When we came up with this concept many years ago, it took a while to think about how do you shine the light, and really shining lights is the most, makes the most sense. And a lot of buildings will get like the purple gel lights, they'll get purple light bulbs, and they'll actually shine the lights at night locally. But a lot of people wear purple, they get creative, we get all kinds of things. People send us dances that they'll put on YouTube, they're all dressed in purple and they're doing some kind of, you know, dance or whatever. They'll have purple bake sales, they'll do raffles, we have law enforcement involvement, we have community, you know, we have campuses, college campuses involved, and so they all do something a little different. And the best way to really get a good sense of things too is to go to our Facebook page, and you can see we have photo albums of what people have done year to year. This year we're really pushing more than ever. We're really, really hoping people will do more with lighting to really make a big statement in the community. And we have things on our website, and we can certainly help people talk to you about the technical parts of how to do that. But it really is the most dramatic, most visible way of going purple and shining a light. And again, we've seen fountains, statues, gazebos. People have done a lot of creative work with this. So just to show you some pictures from really, really big, visible structures down to smaller. Here are some buildings, and we have pictures in your slide. They're not quite as, you know, they're in color, they're pretty dramatic. So we've had different buildings go. We've had like Niagara Falls, Ithaca College for the first time last year went purple, and that was pretty spectacular and exciting. The Peace Bridge and the Mid-Hudson Bridge, they just sort of always go purple every year, and then they kind of, we find out or they let us know. So there are places over the years that they just know, you know, they start planning in September to go purple, and they do it. Different people do things with signs. And again, some people will just do it for one day. If it's possible to do it all month, that's really, that's even better.
And the month is October. I don't know if we said that, but October is the domestic violence awareness month.
Different people do different things with storefronts. You can see the middle photo right there. That's our statewide domestic and sexual violence hotline number. So we sort of constantly have that on our lips, and we're always, you know, telling people that number. So sometimes the best thing you can do is to just make that number available, make it visible to people. That number, when people call it, will get people to their local domestic violence programs. So if I'm calling the statewide number, they'll say, well, what county do you live in? We'll give you the Albany domestic violence program. That way you can go down there and get what you need. So that number alone can be a huge gift to people if you can somehow work that into your efforts. That's a great idea. Just some statues. Was that Oswego College?
No,
Colesville?
Delhi.
The Delhi mascot. So that was really creative. They just, you know, lit their mascot for the first time.
And that's Alfred University.
And then at home, you know, homes in the neighborhood. I know in my neighborhood right now they have a lot of green lights for Veterans Project, and I was asking around, like, what is with all the green lights? And someone told me what it was, so I got a green light. So it can make a huge impact if the whole community is involved and you see a lot of people. So we always want to highlight that as well. So one of the things that we're doing this year, and we have a great intern working with us too to help us figure out in each community throughout the state if there are landmarks in a particular community where you know the community really well. People in the community know, like, this city hall is very visible in our community, or this particular university has a huge mascot that everyone drives by on our main street, or whatever. So we're trying to identify with people what would be a really visible landmark or location in a community, and how might that go purple. And we're actually doing some outreach with people and for people to help with that, because it can be burdensome, and agencies are already strapped and challenged to find another, you know, hour to have a conversation. So we're certainly helping people do that outreach if people can help us identify locations and agencies. And then I put a lot of hyperlinks in the slides, but we can also email the PowerPoint if you want to just be able to hyperlink from it, to kind of gives people a little bit of information about how to go purple. Every year, this is a really significant one, and this is a sort of an easy way to do it. Every year we have a Wear Purple Day that's recognized statewide and actually nationwide. This year we are partnering with the national effort, and they have designated Thursday, October 20th as Wear Purple Day. So whatever you have, wear it all, and make a statement, because the really important thing is not to just wear it, but to talk about it and to have people saying like, what's with all the purple. And it doesn't, you can be, if it's October 20th, you're saying like, well, there's 4 people in the office, but everyone's going to be here on the 21st. By all means, do it the 21st, get a photograph, we'll put it on our Facebook page. And again, it just sends the message. It sends the message to your own consumers, your own clients, that we're wearing purple because of domestic violence awareness. This is important to us. It's important to the work that we do. And it does intersect with every agency, with every business, because everybody is serving someone, or someone that's dealing with it personally, that's got a child or a sibling or a friend who's dealing with it personally. So you might not even know who you have when you make these efforts. And this is just some, just a few pictures of the New York State workforce. I guess I did fly through that a little quickly, didn't I? But they always do great stuff, and these are some of our more very involved agencies. They do a lot of purple each year. They make banners and signs. Private businesses, we have a lot of private businesses that make it a priority to do this each year. Different community groups, book clubs, they'll read a book with a domestic violence theme. And it's so funny, people will email us their pictures and their captions, and they're so excited when they find out they're going to be like on our website and our Facebook page, and it's fantastic. And they'll say, look, we did a Zumba class in the park and we all wore purple. So it's great, and community groups are some of our best supporters and participants. It's fantastic. So it doesn't just have to be a work-related effort that you're making.
And we're going to talk a little bit more about it, but we do have on our website a toolkit. We're going to be updating it and fleshing it out even a little bit more, but part of the toolkit is a list of books. So we do provide things for communities and for individuals to be able to do these efforts on their own. And we'll have a link for that.
Yes. And then we do have individuals here. We have purple hair. And this is really significant because there's actually a big push with hairdressers. Hairdressers are sometimes the first people to get information from a client that something's going on, or they'll see symptoms, they'll see bruising, or when you go to your hairdresser and you just sort of have those conversations. And so we've had hairdressers even come to our office a few times and do purple hair extensions, because that really raises people kind of wonder what's with that, so it's a good conversation starter. Purple fingernails, purple food. We often say like purple food, but food coloring can be very helpful. So people will have bake sales. Sometimes they'll have a raffle associated with it. They'll give the money to a local program from the raffle. People will decorate lobbies. I mean, a purple ribbon can go a long way. Again, it's just to generate conversation and to complete the effort of not just going purple, but then having the conversation about why and what's behind it. So a lot of awareness here. Websites and social media will often change their web banners. We create a new web banner each year that people can put in their email so that it's always in your email signature for the month. People will, Whitehall Police Department is very active. They have the purple shield each year with the ribbon, and that makes a big impact too. A police officer going into a home, when the message there is, we take this seriously, This is our web banner for this year, and it's available at that address. And so you can use it, download it, use it in your email, use it on any materials. We encourage it. So, and then and some people have sent us videos, and these are actually on our Facebook page if you're interested and ever want to watch in the 5 free minutes that you have each day, right? But they were fantastic, and the one on the right was really, really impressive. This police chief in his department made a video with the community, and the message from the police officers was, I think it's I stand with you, or I'm with you.
I stand with you.
I stand with you, and then the community members came in and they participated with the police department. So, you know, my feeling is people are going to feel comfortable in that community calling for help. You know, they know the message all year is that this department gets it, and they're aware.
And it's been viewed 5,000 times. So
Yeah,
right.
has a lot of hits on YouTube. And again, you know, purple flags, which symbol of freedom in every way, right? So that's a really powerful image. We do purple dogs, just to kind of give you a sense of anything is doable, anything's possible, nothing's too small, nothing's too weird. We've seen everything, and it's all fantastic. And the more unusual, the better, because again, we're talking. These were some really impressive efforts. The police car blew our minds. It was very, very impressive.
That's Saugerties.
Saugerties Police Department.
Whiteface Fire Tower on the far left. And that on the bottom right is the Staten Island Ferry Terminal. And above that is Mrs. New York, I think, and she made domestic violence her platform.
Yep. Just a few more creative ideas. Purple lines on the streets, purple clothesline project. The clothesline project itself is a project that survivors have done nationwide, where victims of domestic violence and sexual assault write messages on T-shirts and they hang them on a clothesline. And children, victims and their children. So that is a project that is nationwide and very powerful. And people have done different competitions. There was a scavenger hunt in Albany called the Hunt for Purple October. It was very cool. So they've gotten the community involved in that way. So again, just some ideas, just in thinking about what makes most sense for agencies with, you know, the resources that you have, the people that you serve. It's very open. These can be as easy as balloons or ribbons. The handprints on the bottom, people basically traced their hands and then they wrote messages on those. You know, that it's the concept of hands being used not for hitting but for other purposes. I know children have done them and have written messages like hands are for playing baseball, or, you know, my favorite baseball team.
Right.
Yeah, so that can be very impactful too. Children come up with some really honest things sometimes that make you stop and think. And again, getting men involved is another huge effort. We consider this a human rights issue. So men who are willing to get involved. I mean, we've had men do the fingernail painting, and I totally understand why that doesn't feel comfortable, but it certainly generated a lot of conversation. So. So again, we're moving away from this as, you know, a women's issue and talking about it as a human rights issue. So these are the items in our toolkit on our website, and of course Suzanne and I are available to talk through them, but we have How to Go Purple flyers, basically summarizing a lot of what we talked about today, posters, brochures, wallet cards, so that each agency can say what would make most sense for us, you know, and you can kind of you can tailor them to your needs as well. But what would make most sense for us with who we serve? Would a wallet card make most sense? Or do people come to us, so maybe a poster would make more sense? So those are all available, and all you have to do is print them out. And here are a few more things. We talked about the web banner, the book club list. In each book will have a blurb under it. So we'll be sending those to college campuses as well. Sample press releases. If you do something and you can get it into the local paper or onto the local news, we have thoughts about language for that, if that would be helpful. And here are the links to get to all of those things, and they're in your PowerPoint, so should be good to go. And these are just some of our other publications, and if you're interested in our quarterly bulletin, or which comes out quarterly, obviously, and the e-alert comes out monthly. And the e-alert mostly is gives information about different funding opportunities available to organizations. The bulletin is a little bit more new articles, Q&As, things like that with individuals around the state that are working on domestic violence. And I oversee both of those, so just if you want to subscribe, or you can email me individually and I'll get you on the mailing list for each of them. And these are just a few questions to be thinking about, and to make sure you send us photos of anything that you do, so that we can, put it together. It looks so much nicer when you get a collective picture of the statewide effort. So just to kind of get you thinking, talking with your own staff and colleagues about what might work, and let us know what you're doing. And certainly if you come up with anything we haven't talked about here, we would love to know that, because we'll certainly share that statewide and replicate that too. So here's our information at the end. Thank you for your time. I'm sorry I think I went over a bit, but it's really, really good of you to have us here. And feel free to contact us anytime you have any questions, or if there was anything that you wanted to clarify, and happy to do that. Okay. Thanks.
Does anybody have any questions?
I have
Dan?
a question.
Yeah. Yes, Tina.
Thank you, Dan. Well, like you, Dan, we're a primary provider of domestic violence services for our community. And I know that we do a number of events throughout the month of October. And if you're not a primary provider, I would just really encourage your organization to somehow find out who that provider is and become involved, because this really is powerful. We have a tremendous impact in our own local community during the month of October in terms of awareness, and I would just really encourage you to find out who that provider is and make those connections.
And we can help with that too. There's a statewide list of providers in each county, so we can certainly help if anyone is wondering.
Sure.
That would be.
Just some thoughts. This is Miguel in Buffalo. In the past, I worked for National Grid as a consumer advocate. In the past, I would train our call center. If anyone who called and said something about that domestic violence, that they were being abused, I trained the call center, at least when we had them in Buffalo, to immediately refer them to me. One year in particular, I had a lady that was murdered. I had a senior lady in a rural area that was being beaten by her elderly husband. And thirdly, I had a lady who could not even feed herself. She had multiple sclerosis because her boyfriend mentally tortured her. And those were 3 examples that I, as a consumer advocate, got referred from the call center. So just thinking out loud, the utility companies all have people that go out into the homes and call centers and so forth. And each utility company has what we call employee resource groups. In our company, we have 2 women's group in particular who might want to take, some type of action. But just thinking out loud at how we can address some people who will never know. And so these were ways that I was able to address some individuals that were being abused. That's number 1. Number 2, the Iroquois Nation, their color is purple. So we have Michael Martin in Buffalo that is involved with the Native Americans out in Western New York. But just thinking out loud again, the Iroquois Nation starts from Albany all the way west, all the way to Buffalo, Niagara Falls. So maybe we can make contact with the Iroquois Confederacy in order to see if they can jump on board. And let's see. And thirdly, you had mentioned about talking about training. I just recently attended a public forum with migrant workers in Albion, New York, where migrant workers spoke freely to law enforcers in 3 counties. And the majority of the people that had the courage to talk were people who talked about domestic violence and how their local law enforcers reacted. In most cases, it was very positive. As a result, if there were a lady that was undocumented because of the ordeal that she went through, all of these people then became legal or have green cards. And so when it comes for training, do you offer training in Spanish? And if you ever have training in Western New York and want to address the migrant population, I'm willing to assist in whatever way I can.
Miguel, how would we get in touch with you?
My direct number is 716-831-7312. My email is Miguel, MIGUEL .Santos, SANTOS, @nationalgrid.com. My second hat that I wear is I am a deacon in the Catholic Church. We work with migrant workers between the Diocese of Buffalo and the Diocese of Rochester. And as a matter of fact, tomorrow I will be in Fulton, New York, working with migrant workers, Spanish dominant. But many migrant workers don't even speak Spanish. I work closely with the Mexican consulate. In September, they will be in Lackawanna, New York, and they bring with them 2 translators that speak native languages, because some of these people don't even speak Spanish. So there's a lot of more domestic violence take place than what most people would know. And so this is just alerting these communities that are hidden. And so I will assist in whatever way I can. I am almost like a social worker. I'm a consumer advocate, so I get involved both religiously as well as National Grid. Thank you.
And this is Jeffrey Lewis. I would also add that that's the principal focus of our organization, is services to migrant and seasonal farm workers, and we work to bring in the different organizations to provide both legal services and services for the farm workers, including the different cards that they can get for their bank registration. We also work with a lot of folks who are incarcerated or previously incarcerated, and so have an opportunity to address them directly. And one of my thoughts when I was listening to Miguel was we have several youth grants where we have folks everywhere from 14 to 24 who've been in trouble with the law but have not had a felony. And a lot of those individuals would be great targets for this, because if they had more knowledge, they perhaps would not end up being the abusers in the future. So.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Folks know they can reach out to you. They have your information.
Yes.
And do you go on site? So if a CAA, we have a CAA in every county. If one of them needed you to reach out to get more information, do you also go on site?
We probably could. We haven't done it before, but we probably could. It certainly could be a resource, to talk to them and maybe be able to go on site too.
Thank you.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you very much.
If you have any further questions, our emails are on the PowerPoint.
The next on the agenda is the approval of minutes from previous meetings. We're getting quite a backlog, but since we don't have a quorum, I'm assuming we can just skip over that. Is that all right, Annette?
That's all right.
Okay. I don't have a whole lot of information on CSBG reauthorization at this point. It's kind of 2 steps forward, 2 steps backward, and I think things are just kind of quieting down for the summer. We'll see what resumes in the fall. I just want to congratulate Annette on her award at the NISCA conference. It was a long time coming and well-deserved, and I want to congratulate NISCA on an excellent conference, and walked away with a lot of good information. And that concludes my report. Division of Community Services. Veronica?
Yeah. Well, hello to everyone. A big shout out to the folks in New York City and Buffalo. Hello to everyone and welcome. My report is also as brief as Dan's. One is, we all know, everybody knows that the CSBG draft plan is out there. Have people looked at it? People had time to give it a look? Thank you. Yes?
Yes.
Yes? That's good. If you haven't, there's still time, and it's waiting for you to it's anxiously waiting for you to turn the pages. We are looking forward to any feedback that you have about the plan. Also, I want to remind people about the public hearing. It's August 8th. You have an opportunity to comment at the public hearing, and also the comment period goes through the 12th, so it goes beyond the date of the public hearing. This is really your opportunity to talk about what you think about the CSBG application plan, about any input that you might have in terms of the plan and the future, and we look forward to hearing from you. I want to encourage you to come, invite your colleagues to come, and even if you don't plan on speaking, it is an important opportunity for you to come and have a presence, for people to see that this is something that is important, that is an investment that New York State makes in the poor and in low-income families, that is worth our time and efforts to be there. Any questions on the plan?
I do.
Yes.
Hi, Veronica. This is Tina Zerbian.
Hi, Tina.
I have questions primarily regarding the discretionary funds. So section 7.11 refers to the focus on immigrant integration as well as reentry. Will these, along with Angel Action, be the only eligible innovative programs? That's my first question. I have many.
Well, did you want to ask, I'm sorry, you want to take them one at a time?
I can list them all and go back if you want. My other questions were, do you have any idea when the discretionary funds are going to be made available through RFP, and when the contract period would begin? And my last question is has the Department of State done any sort of comparison between the outcomes of the community action agencies who have received discretionary funding and those of other non-government eligible entities?
Okay, so those are them. Tina, those are your questions?
That's it.
Okay, oh my God, okay. So other people may want to chime in, and I don't want to discourage you even after we answer these questions to also, if you have additional ones, to give me a call or give us a call, or again, to present your questions at the public hearing. First, on the focus on immigrants and reentry, one of the things that we're required to do in the application plan is to talk about how we're going to use our money and also to lay it out. So you'll see in the application plan there's the formula which we present, which primarily states that the majority of our money goes to eligible entities and then lays out how the remainder is used. Because they do ask us how, in anticipation of any use, we will be using it, we have included the Secretary's interests, which are in reentry and also in immigration. integration. So that is that answer your question for number one?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, let's keep going then. For discretionary funds, when and where, whatever, will be an RFA. So, the question on that is still out there. So we're discussing it now. We're going through the timeline in the calendar. The secretary has her interest. She was just appointed, as you know, still fairly recently. So she's still getting her feet wet and looking at budgets and looking at, how her interests fit into the grand scheme of things. So we do anticipate issuing an RFA, and we're looking forward to doing that. Discretionary opportunities are always a great time to get people excited about the work that we do. Then your last question, which is on outcomes, is a question actually that others have asked, and we have actually been talking to the association about that very question. How do we look at the data? What does the data say about the outcomes when they come through the CAA versus the discretionaries, which come out of not necessarily a CAA? I want to keep in mind that most of our discretionary funding has gone to CAAs. The last set of discretionary funding was we issued 6 RFAs in workforce development, and 4 were to CAAs and 2 were to non-CAAs. So the majority of the discretionary funding up until this point has gone to them. So I'm not sure if you could get a realistic or a sizable enough sample. So those are the kinds of things you have to discuss when considering how we're doing a report on outcomes. But we have been talking to the association about that.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, comments?
If not, I want to put, once again, these are great questions. If people have any comments or even want to come in again to show their support for our Community Services Block Grant program here in New York State, the public hearing is a great opportunity to do that.
Okay.
I would just ask, just to add as a point of clarification to the first part of Ms. Serbian's question about the restriction, 7.11. So what this is we still have an approved 2-year plan in place because it got approved as a 2-year plan. So just that's important to know. But there were certain fields in the new system the federal government requires for entry of the plan because it's not sent in sort of like a booklet format anymore. It's a bunch of fields. And for 2-year plans, they had in-year or in-plan fields that needed to be entered. So these revisions are really to enter those in-year fields. So everything that's in our existing plan is still there and not being deleted. So for instance, to your question of 7.11, is that restrictive when it says this year, discretionary funds will focus on? That should be seen as supplementary to what's also there. So when you look at sort of the grid that exists in the plan for possible ways of using discretionary funds, that doesn't get deleted by the comment that you were referring to. It's still open. So like, the references to focusing on workforce development, things like that, they're still in the plan. So there still is that broad spectrum of possibilities for discretionary funds.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you
for the clarification. Okay. Since we can't take action on the plan, we will move to monitoring update. Annette?
Okay, in your folder, there is a copy of the new triennial review and assessment tool. When we last met, I was telling you that we were going to be having a meeting with our staff to update the original TRACS assessment tool, and we met with the staff. They suggested some changes, and then we proposed the changes to our original Triennial Assessment Work Group, which was made up of 12 executive directors, NISCA, some CSBG staff, and Department of State staff. Actually, I think we have 3 people right on the committee today. From the committee, they're out around the table. Dennis, Dan participated, and Tina participated. The task force reviewed the recommended changes, made some additional edits to what was being proposed, and as a result, you have what's in front of you today, the revised TRACE tool. We expect to start using this tool October 1st for the agencies that are due for their triennial review starting in FFY 17. It was a good cooperative process. Everybody felt that their input was heard and recognized in the changes. The only thing we could change were the indicators. We could not change anything with the standards. So we tried just to make things a little more specific and take out the redundancy. And I think we were successful. But of course, we'll find out when the agencies who are reviewed in 2017 have their say. If anyone would like to ask any questions, or if Dan, Dennis, or Tina would like to comment.
No, I just appreciate it being an inclusive process.
Yes. Yep, I agree. Okay.
Also, although it's not part of my report, I just want to let you know that NISCA did provide a written report, and that is also in your folder. And the other thing that's in your folder is are the proposed changes or the proposed additions to the state plan that Veronica and Jim Leary referred to earlier. So all of that is in writing in your folder.
Okay, thank you. New business, our next meeting date is October 17th at 10 a.m. at all the traditional locations. Veronica or Ned, do you have any new business? Anybody from the council? Niska?
I have no new business.
No?
Okay, there's no old business, so we'll call for a motion to adjourn, even though we don't have a quorum.
Tina's raising her hand.
Sorry.
No,
Go ahead, Tina.
I guess this is old business, Dan. The last meeting we discussed the fact that we still have a number of vacancies on the council.
Yes.
And we know that there's a number of people who have, at least from the Community Action Network that I'm aware of, who have made some sort of application through the governor's office or the assembly. And I guess I was wondering if the new secretary would be in a position to advocate for those people who have been in that queue for quite some period of time without any movement on the part of the governor's office or the assembly. Just a suggestion.
Is that something we're willing to? Yeah, I think that would be probably the most. I'm not really sure what to do about the assembly. It's been obviously very difficult to get this to the attention of someone there. If someone has contact information with the speaker's legal counsel, the legal office, or something like that, I think that's a good avenue. But it's been a source of frustration for a long time.
Right. I just thought that with a new secretary, perhaps there might be an opportunity for some movement on that.
Are you asking me, Tina, if our secretary, or did you mean the new secretary here? Our
The new Secretary of State.
Yeah. Well, in terms of the governor's appointments, Annette, you might want to speak to that, because we were able to bring the Commissioner Chong on board. So we have been following those and tracking those. Sometimes it's government, so it goes at a snail's pace. But we can certainly check on those, but the assembly is a totally different jurisdiction, so. As Dan said, that it's its own animal, and it has its own process.
Question, is there a formal request that you submit to the legislators for appointment, either to the Assembly or the Senate?
Dan,
Well, yeah, I mean, basically, you want to, the interested person would want to start with their own assembly person in their own district, their home district, and have the assembly person take a letter of inquiry to the speaker's office. If the speaker, before the speaker signs off on it, they'll do a background check, and they'll ask for perhaps some letters of support. And then the speaker, what's supposed to happen is the speaker will then send a letter making the appointment. But the hurdle for us is it's very difficult to get the attention of the speaker's office on this particular issue, as I'm sure there are hundreds of organizations that are having the same frustration.
Yeah, my question is to your request to the Speaker's office. Have you submitted something to them saying that we have vacancies and please make the appointments?
No, but I could do that, or we could do that. That's a good idea, actually. Okay, any other thoughts, comments? So with that, we'll adjourn the meeting. Thank you, everyone.